it took a lot of effort for the professors to get to know me. Here, it's not as hard because your classes are small. The largest chemistry class we teach here at UMW is occasionally we will teach a chemistry class for general chemistry that's 75 students, and then you'll be in a smaller group of 25 to go to lab. That's the biggest you're going to see. Where I went to undergrad, Gen Bio was 550 people. So much different. The other thing is our program is certified by the American Chemical Society. It is the largest professional society in the United States. And they have a program where you can become certified, and that recognizes that you have good classes, that you're teaching modern methods and modern classes, that you have adequate instrumentation, adequate facilities. And also then when you have that, you can offer what's called the certified degree. And that on the transcript lets people know that you've had over 400 lab hours and various other things. And it's something that employers and grad schools recognize. The other thing we're most proud of is our research opportunities. So by not having graduate students, you might think, well, then nobody does research, but we do. And we do our research with our undergraduates. And that is our model. All of the instrumentation and equipment that we have, we buy it so that our students can use it, not just to look pretty. Okay? We have our advanced labs. You can go ahead and turn on the TV, guys. Sorry about that. Alexa just stopped working. So,
hey, Grandma, can you?
No, I'm on. Goodbye. Goodbye. Go play in traffic. Goodbye. So anyway, all of our advanced lab equipment is available for use for our undergrads. So when you go on tours at some of the big universities, they'll show you research and say, look how great this is. Well, you're never going to get to touch it because that's for the grad students. Every bit of our equipment is available for the undergraduates to use. And you can actually see, and this is one of our I'm not sure, this might be one of the GCs. You can actually see, not only can you use it, but you can actually take it apart and fix it and put it back together. So the chemistry major is a whole lot of classes, but the big thing to know as you're coming in as a first year student would be that you want to be taking general chemistry, Chem 111, Chem 112. And your calculus is good to do your first year. And if possible, your physics. It depends on what you've got going on. And then you work your way up through taking things like organic chemistry, analytical. There's 5 traditional areas of chemistry, and UMW offers coursework in all 5 areas. If you're doing the biochemistry major, it's a little bit different. The biochem major brings in that biology. We're at that interface of chemistry and biology. So as an incoming freshman, you would take the general bio sequence and the general chemistry sequence. And then again, as you work your way up, a little more advanced biology classes, and up you go. Again, you're going to be taking physics and calculus with both majors. Beyond the classroom, we've got several ways that you can be engaged and get to know your faculty a lot better. We have 2 vehicles for research during the academic year. That's the URes 197, undergrad research, and the Chem 491 major credits. And the big difference between URes and 491, URes, you're more shadowing, and in 491, you're actually running your own project. The Summer Science Institute is a summer program where you're doing research for 10 weeks with a faculty member, getting paid a stipend, housing, and food. It's a pretty good deal. We have various service learning opportunities. I'm actually doing something with a student this semester. He's actually a chemistry minor for science outreach. He's developing some programming for the annual celebration of Chemists Celebrate Earth Week, which is coming up in April. And he's going to put together some programming and present it. We're not sure to who yet. It may be a Girl Scout troop. It may be campus community. Not sure which yet. We also have internships. Students of ours have gotten internships at the FBI, the Naval Surface Warfare Center. We have an active internship with Adventure Brewing Company. There's a lot of biochem in brewing. So and again, when you're doing an internship, you're receiving credit. Say you got an internship up at Quantico, say, and now you're going to have expenses commuting to and from Quantico. We have internship fellowships to help defray the expenses of internships, since internships don't tend to be paid. A lot of our students also do summer undergraduate research at other institutions. There's tons of programs that do that, and we help our students find and apply for those opportunities. Our funding in College of Arts and Sciences is excellent. There's $130,000 set aside just for undergraduate research, both for lab supplies and for travel and conferences. One of the most fun things I get to do, and I haven't gotten to do it in a little while because of some things I've been doing, is getting to take students to national meetings of the American Chemical Society. 15,000 chemists geeking out in a major city, and we get to take students there, and we take and when we go, it's not like we all pile in a car and drive for 3 days and have to stay in, the Motel 6. If it's far enough to fly, we fly. We stay at conference hotels. I mean, we're definitely not, getting room service at the Ritz, but nobody's starving either. And it's always a lot of fun. It's also an amazing networking opportunity. We have the alphabet soup of equipment, GCMS, major mass spec from CSI, or not CSI, from NCIS. We've got one. AFM standing tunneling microscopy, ICP, NMR, which is my favorite, and that's an MRI for molecules. UV visible spectroscopy, all of the techniques that are commonly used in laboratories and in graduate programs in science, we've got them all, and we've got students using them. We also have a scanning electron microscope and a tunneling electron microscope. Those are very unique things to have for a school of our size. And we have confocal microscopes with different abilities for photography and stuff that is used for some of the biochem research in our department. That picture on the slide is actually of one of our biology facilities. In the renovation, the biology faculty, particularly the molecular biologist, decided that what they wanted was a big open space where they could all work, where they could share resources, share equipment, and it's not as clean now because they're doing lots of amazing work. Let's see. Beyond the classroom, we do a lot of fun things. We do outreach programs. You can see the Diet Coke and Mentos experiments there. That was done as part of Family Weekend. Oh, there's the trip to Orlando. There's Kat Zwemmer, one of our alums, with Dr. Randall Reef at the ACS National Meeting in Orlando that was a couple years ago. Kat was able to present her research there. 15,000 geeks. It's an amazing thing. Some of our alums are incredibly successful. My favorite thing about our alums is when they get a job somewhere, the employers always want more of our students, and we tend to hear, oh, I'm being promoted and my job's going to be empty, so can I find another UMW person to fill my role? Orlando Stewart is a chemistry alum. He's an analytical chemist over at PPD, Pharmaceutical Product Development, down in Richmond. PPD is actually hiring hugely right now because they are involved in the COVID vaccine. I believe they're doing a lot of the quality analysis, quality control. Brooke Andrews is a graduate student at Emory University down in Atlanta. She, what we call, ran the table. She applied to 8 graduate programs and got into all of them. And she's really been happy at Emory. She's the 3rd or 4th graduate student from UMW to go to Emory for grad school. Anisa Kaur is another one of our alums. She's an analytical chemist at Enviro Compliance Laboratories. Matt Tovar was one of our first students to come in through the honors program and to go to medical school through the honors program med school articulation agreement at GW. He was an animal. He got EMT certified and rode on a rig. He did undergraduate research of a project of his own design, and also managed to graduate with a ridiculously high GPA, and was just a really nice guy on top of it all.
And I think about 2 or 3 publications while he was here.
Yeah, he's continuing his research in grad school, and he's just doing great, and a heck of a nice guy. These are several of our other alums from 2019. We've got forensic chemists in the FBI. Andrew's over working on his PhD at UT Arlington. Aaron Schaefer's a forensic chemist with the DEA. And Chloe Morton's in the Peace Corps. And I think she's doing something teaching in Spain or something right now. There's something else going on. I just read about her in the Alumni magazine. Unfortunately, I don't have great pictures of last year's class because we left in March and didn't get to come back. But several of them are already working and are also in graduate school doing Echo, stop. I love being home. So that's kind of what we are and what we do. I'm going to open the floor to questions for both me and Dr. Crowder and see what kind of questions we can answer. I know I moved a bit quick, but I feel like you probably would rather ask questions that you're interested in and get answers rather than listen to some canned speech. And there goes my door slamming again. So let me go ahead and quit sharing my screen. And I'll open the floor to questions.
And I apologize. I came in late. Our lab was still kind of running right up until 6 o'clock. So you can see I'm still in the teaching lab right now. That's why I have my mask on. But if you have any questions for either Dr. Asper or I, would be happy to answer them.
You can chat or you can ask either one. Dr. Crowder, did our chem major make it or stuff happen?
I could actually go grab Caitlin from.
Okay, cool. That'd be great.
So I'll get her too. Hold on.
Anyone mind if I start?
Go for it.
Awesome. How is the honors college different for pursuing a chemistry major?
It's pretty much the same. You're going to take all the same classes, and then you do an honors capstone project that can be, and usually that spins out of a Chem 491. If you've had a couple years on the project, you may find that in addition to being able to use that project for your honors capstone, you're able to pursue what we call department honors. And department honors entails having a minimum GPA, I think it's 3.5, writing a thesis about your research, 50 to 60 page document, presenting a seminar to the community, and then a defense with 4 faculty with us asking questions. So we have the honors program, and then also within the departments, we have our own department honors, and they're 2 different things with the same name. We offer many honors labs. So in Gen Chem and Orgo both, we have honors sections. The lecture material is the same. The lab is what's different. It's not harder. It's not more intense, but it's more involved. Longer projects, more instrumentation, more research realistic projects, more stuff that doesn't work. The organic chemistry 2 honors that I teach is all centered around polymer chemistry. We've made some epic black tars trying to make polystyrene. We've had a few years of trying it that one, and we still don't quite have that one worked out. But that's one of the interesting things is I'm able to say, okay, here's 3 years worth of data. What are we going to change as a class this year? So that's how that works. The honors sections are open to both honor students and regular students. I was always a regular student. And so, you know, even if you're not in the honors program as a chem major, you have the opportunity to have those enhanced experiences.
I just wanted to pipe in. We've got a biochem major. This is Caitlin Parker. She's getting it ready to graduate at the end of the year. Kind of crazy. So if you have any questions for our chem or biochem major, we can she can answer those as well. Jonathan, I think I cut you off. Did you have another question?
Oh, I can keep going all day. I'd love to leave the floor open. Okay, great. So I'm interested in job opportunities. So my freshman year, I'm probably just going to get like a part-time food service job. Is it worth sort of moving towards chemistry related jobs as I'm getting my degree?
There don't tend to be a ton until you've got the degree, because the chemistry skill set is so unique. Now if you're thinking about like a med tech job, medical technology is a different field. That's usually using an associate's degree, and they tend to be different classes. Now, as far as being able to make money doing chemistry, there's always private tutoring. A lot of our students have done quite well doing private tutoring, especially with so many high school students trying to do school at home. There's been many opportunities. Within the department, you can be a lab aide and help out with labs. I think Caitlin probably was doing that, and she can talk to you a little bit about that. And that just gives you a little bit of experience to see what it's like helping other people to do the work. The summer research opportunities, in particular, for example, the opportunities out at Dahlgren and at the other military labs, some of those programs are crazy good. The NREP and the Pathways programs, those have a scholarship, a summer job, a job at Christmas break, and when you graduate, you're guaranteed a 1-year job as a Fed, and if they like you, they keep you. And all the summers and winters you were working as an undergrad, you're climbing GS levels while you're in college. They're very competitive, but they're there. So there's interesting opportunities, and career services helps you to find those.
I see another question in chat, but really quickly, lab aid work counts for work study credit. Awesome.
So lab aiding is one of our is a work study or one of the opportunities through financial aid. So it's an on-campus job. And there are also chemistry tutors through academic services that is an on-campus job. I just muted myself. Dr. Esper was talking about the summer research programs elsewhere, but the summer research program at Mary Washington also comes with a stipend. And if you look at research opportunities at other institutions over the summer, those are called REUs. Those pay well.
I actually did one of those for biology, and I got about a $5,000 stipend for the summer, and they paid for meals as well.
Yeah, I did an REU. I did an REU between my junior and senior year. Granted, this was in the Stone Age, and I actually quit my grocery store job to do the REU because it was so much of an opportunity. The medical program with GW, I will put in the chat the link to the honors program to talk about that specifically, because that one's I don't know but the basics about it. What it is it is for students who are admitted to UMW through the honors program. There's a minimum GPA requirement, and you apply to medical school basically your sophomore year in college. If you are accepted at that point, as long as you can keep your grades up and everything else, you're in at GW. So it is an articulation agreement, and it's a pretty good deal, but it is very competitive. But yeah, I'd be happy to put in the link, put in the chat the link to that program.
At the same time, we have had incredible success rate with students that apply for that program getting in. I think we're almost at probably an 85% acceptance rate, which is much higher than generally the acceptance rates are to med school. So. You're muted, Janet. I don't know if you.
I'm dealing with a crisis with my kids.
I thought you were talking. Sorry.
Can't reach it.
Well,
another question?
If you guys have any questions about the honors program, I can also answer those.
So biochem, you can do it either way. So the idea with doing chem is hang on, my brain just went. So both degrees are going to expose you to the various fields of chemistry. The chem degree is going to show you more analytical and inorganic as opposed to the biochem. The biochem is going to show you more biology. Because our program is so broad-based and the foundations are so strong, you can probably sell yourself to either one. So if a job was looking for a BS in chem and also said something like, many of, especially the federal jobs might say, well, a BS in chem and this many credit hours in analytical chemistry. Well, if in the course of doing your biochem, you took one of the analytical courses, you would be able to apply to that. So a lot of the,
I would say,
go ahead, Nicole.
I was just going to say, as far as, you know, whether you should wait until grad school to differentiate yourself, not necessarily, right? A lot of graduate programs, you know, it's kind of unique that we have a specific biochem major at Mary Washington. A lot of times you're going to have a placement exam or a series of placement exams in grad school. So if you've already taken the coursework, you're going to do better on those placement exams, and that will get you into more interesting classes in grad school sooner. So I don't think there's really an advantage to waiting until grad school. I think there's an advantage to taking it in undergrad.
And it's all about doing what you are interested in. It's one of the hardest, one of the interesting things we break down the first year when you're in college and as we go through this admissions process is I don't really worry so much about what requirements are. I want to know what you're interested in. And how do we match up what you're interested in and what you're passionate about with an academic plan that lets you, you know, lets you live your dreams. You can go to med school with a bachelor's degree in philosophy. You absolutely can. I know somebody who did. So, but you know, and it's the nice thing with the chem biochem is it really doesn't diverge truly until the junior year. A little bit of divergence the sophomore year, but you can still be straddling both through your second year and seeing what you really want to do. And remember, you don't declare major at UMW till 28 credits, so you don't even have that pressure your first year. You just get to learn and enjoy things.
So the secondary education specializing in chemistry, to what extent are upper level, like 400 classes, axed out of that curriculum in order to, you know, sort of facilitate education courses?
Nothing is axed out. You have a bachelor's degree in chemistry, and then you are simultaneously getting the education classes for certification. You do.
Oh,
both.
that's awesome.
Yeah. And the good thing about that is you're not, what if you go into teaching and you realize you don't like it? Then you can get a job as a chemist. Oh, wait, that Orlando Stewart guy that works at PPD where they're doing the QA/QC on the vaccine, that's what he did. So you do both. Now, the student teaching with the labs, it's not easy. Things that are worth it never are. But the education college and the chem department, we work together to make sure that we're able to get your classes worked out and, you know, get things to work. So yeah, it's not an either or, it's a yes.
Do you want to talk about fun publications by the faculty or by undergraduates?
I'm going to toss that one to Dr. Crowder because I spent 5 years doing my summer research at Dahlgren. I didn't publish for a while. It's all of my
Wasn't
stuff.
allowed to publish because of class.
That too. Yeah, that NDA was kind of a thing. So I'll let Dr. Crowder talk about her research and then we can loop back around.
So like I was mentioning about Matt Tovar, who just graduated in 2019, he published several papers, I think at least 2, as the primary author as an undergrad, which is kind of crazy. It looks great, obviously, on resumes and applications. When you go to a school like Mary Washington, it is not the research intensive school experience that you would get at a larger state school where there are graduate programs. And the focus is really on cranking out the research. We do more of a kind of apprenticeship model where we're incorporating students into our research program as a way to teach them. What that means is that the research proceeds a little bit more slowly than it would if we were doing research full time. So, and it also means that you kind of, as a student, work on a project, and then you hand the baton to the next student to continue working on that project. So we don't publish as much as, say, you know, someone at UVA might, but when we do publish, it is the result of undergraduates doing the work. So the undergraduates are going to be the primary authors. They're going to be the people that are not only listed as the primary author, but they're writing the paper, right? They're actually writing a journal article, which is an incredible experience. You know, I had a paper published back in 2016 that was actually the result of, I think, about 7 years of research, right? But it incorporated 6 undergraduate students on that, right? So, you know, it may take a little bit longer to get the results, but they are publication worthy results. And it is, again, the undergraduate students that are doing that research. So it's kind of an excellent learning experience. And also, like I said, you can put that you published a paper on your resume, that's great. But even if you don't get to that level, if the research doesn't progress to that point when you're here, you are going to be making presentations at regional and national meetings. And again, those go on your resume as well. So I don't know if you wanted to know particularly about our research projects. We can talk about that, but
yeah, kind of. I just want to hear what you're thinking about how the topics are chosen.
So my research, I'm the inorganic chemist in the department. So I do kind of inorganic research. It actually ends up being more of a cross between surface science and organic chemistry with a tiny smidge of inorganic chemistry in there. And what my kind of overarching goal is to use carbon dioxide as a carbon feedstock material. So using it as a source of carbon for higher chain carbon materials through the use of a transition metal catalyst down to a surface. So it kind of, you get the organic chemistry, you get a little bit of inorganic, you get the surface science in there. Caitlin worked for several years.
Yeah, I actually did research under another professor here, Dr. Davis Oldham, and he had multiple projects going on, but I specifically worked on his tuberculosis project. And we were working to synthesize an inhibitor for the cell wall construction. And like Dr. Crowder said, I'm actually part of a continuation of students who have worked on this project, and I'm 3rd in the line, I believe. And with COVID, like funding got cut and then classes fell apart. But for me, I completed the research to gain more lab skills and to feel more competent in lab, while also establishing more connections with my professors.
My research that I shelved, and I'm picking it back up now, one of the things that's really hard when you make pharmaceuticals is purifying them between the steps. Purification is labor intensive and not very green. It often uses a lot of solvent. So I was working on taking a piece of polymer to attach to a molecule that maybe you're building a drug molecule on. And the idea with this piece of polymer was that, first of all, if you heat it using microwave heating, the polymer would melt and become the solvent to do the reaction. So the solvent is part of the molecule. But the also fun thing with this was that the polymer is soluble in some solvents and precipitates out of others. So the idea was maybe you'd run a reaction in acetone and then you'd add ether to it, which would make your molecule precipitate. You could filter it. All the impurities would go with the filtrate. You'd take this powder, dissolve it, and do the next step. So that's what I was working on a while back. That project, like I said, that one sat on the shelf like when I was working out at Dahlgren for the summers. I had the opportunity to go there, and that was on a bucket list for me, so to do military research. But the student who worked on that, Robert Higgins, he's actually recently gotten his PhD and is doing a postdoc. And this year I'm hoping to finish getting the last of the NMR data that we needed for the project now that we have our new NMR. And I'm going to crack up when I publish Robert's undergraduate work while he's doing his postdoc, but hey, you know, a publication's a publication.
That's great. I'm especially super interested in carbon capture work. That's really, really interesting. Thank you for sharing.
How to prepare for chem. Study skills, good study skills, get your study skills. And just being really open-minded. Keep your algebra as fresh as you can, but be really open-minded. So, you know, fourth quarter, if you go in saying, oh my gosh, chemistry is going to be a disaster because all these things happened, then it will be. We get what's going on and we are adjusting. We're adjusting some of what we're teaching, some of the ways that we're teaching. We're not dumbing it down by any stretch, but we are very aware that you guys have had a very disrupted tail end of your high school careers. And we get that. You haven't gotten to do as much lab. I mean, that's going to be the big thing that we're going to be filling in for a lot of people, is figuring out what to do with these things at the ends of your arms. And that's okay. We get that. And that's going to be a challenge for us. And it's a challenge we're almost excited about because we're thinking about things differently. One of the things we do, especially for students that are a bit nervous, we do have a placement test for students that come in. They take this math. It's basically just algebraic manipulations and stuff. And based on how you do on that, we'll recommend either general chemistry, yay, go do Gen Chem, or, you know, let's take a semester, let's back up a little bit. Let's make sure your fundamentals on your math and your science are really solid. And both classes are perfectly okay. And we'll just let you work your way through that way. So we've got lots of resources in place too to support you. That may be where Nicole's going.
The other thing that I would say is that I teach in the general chemistry sequence. I'm one of the main people that you would see if when you come to Mary Washington, most likely you're going to have me for general chemistry. We approach it that you don't have to have seen chemistry ever before, right? We're coming at it from, let's start with what is an atom, right? So sure, having taken high school chemistry and, you know, if you had a great program in that, that's going to help you out. But we also approach it from the viewpoint that this is the first time you're seeing this. So let's build it up. Now it will probably be faster than the high school class would be, right? We do move at a faster pace because we have to get through material, but we do approach it from the, hey, let's learn this for the first time. And what Dr. Asper was starting to say before I interrupted her, is we have lots of support structures in place there. We have what we call professor office hours, where the professors are available for at least 5 hours every week, where you can just go in and ask them questions, and that's what they're there for. We have tutoring that is offered by our chemistry and biochemistry majors for free on every Sunday. We have tutoring available through academic services for chemistry and also for math. So if you realize that it's really not the chemistry content, but the math that's holding you back, then you can get tutoring in math for your chemistry class, right? Also with academic services, there are other like study skills, time management, things like that they offer through that. I would say something about PASS, but I'm not sure how much longer that's gonna hold on. So, but we do have those support structures in place, and we encourage you to take advantage of them, right? You know, when Dr. Asper was saying that, oh, you can make money by being a paid tutor, I always tell my students, I was like, don't pay a tutor before you come see me. You already paid for me, right? And I also happen to write all of the exams. So I'm a good resource, right? But I would say if you are worried, the main place where we see students struggling is not with the chemistry content, but with the mathematical manipulation. So the more math preparation you can have coming in, the better off you'll be. And really, we don't do much more complicated than Algebra 2, maybe, not even really that in those Gen Chem level classes. And when you get up to physical chemistry, you're obviously doing calculus, which is why calculus is one of those things that we recommend you take as a first year student or in your second year.
Yeah. The other thing is at some schools, you'll hear that, oh, well, chemistry is a weed out course. They're there to weed out the med school students. No, we are not. And in fact, if the rates of students that are getting low grades begin to creep up on us, we get worried and we figure out what do we need to do to better support our students. And that was where the placement test and the Foundations of Chem course came from.
Any other questions? Doesn't have to be about chemistry. We can answer more general questions as well. I don't know if Dr. Asper mentioned this. We do have, you will have an academic advisor assigned to you as a first year student based off of the first year seminar course that you enroll in. And then once you declare your major, you'll be assigned a major advisor. That would be somebody in the department. So we really know exactly what you need to be taking and when it's offered and when students usually take that class, that type of thing. Within the departments, we also have a career advisor. So somebody who's going to help you find those summer opportunities or those internships. So we do have those support structures in place. I see a new question coming in on the chat about what labs do you do as a first year student?
You should turn your computer around and give them a tour of the Gen Chem lab since you're in
I can show
there.
you guys what our lab looks like. Oh man. So there's our nice teaching lab right now. You can see the tape on the floor and on the benches. That's to keep everybody 8 feet apart, right? What we try to do with those first year labs is 2 things. We're trying to give you particular lab skills, right? That you know how to use a balance, that you know how to make a solution, that you know how to do a titration. Like those types of skills. So there are going to be labs that are building those. And then there are going to be labs that we are using to highlight content from the class. So when we're talking about light and wavelengths and electronic structure, then you're going to do a lab with spectroscopy where you make colored solutions using transition metal complexes and then analyze them using a spectrometer. We do several different thermochemistry labs to get at, you know, the heat content in fuels or the heat capacity of different metals, the heat given off by the dissolution of salts, so things like that. And then the cool thing that we're hoping to get back into the schedule once we don't have to alternate labs, thanks to the restrictions on the number of students we can have in the labs, is we do these project-based labs, which we give you a chemical problem where I just give you, say, an unknown, and it's like, all right, what is the molecular weight of this? And you have to come up with your team with a procedure to answer that question. And you're responsible for developing all of that yourself. And it really forces you to apply what you've been learning, to apply the principles behind good experimental design. You know, how many trials do you have to run? What glassware do you use? Things like that. What assumptions are okay to make? And then it also gives you the experience of working in a team to solve a problem. So you get those soft skills of communication and time management and working with people that you may not like that much, right? So we like to have those opportunities as well as the more traditional labs in the first year, so that you get kind of the lab skills, content reinforcement, but then also the critical thinking and problem solving through those project labs.
My favorite project lab from a few years ago that we did was the one where you were stranded on the island and you needed to make the battery with the coins and the cloth and some salt solutions. And that one was a fun one. And how much voltage could you get? How much current could you get? Could you power a cell phone?
Voltage to charge your cell phone. Yeah.
Yep, that one was fun. There was and one of the interesting things with that is, there's always this am I doing this right? And I'm like, I don't know. People working on the COVID vaccine don't get to ask, is it right or wrong? Run the experiment, collect the data, figure out what to do next. It's not about being right or wrong. It's about process. So that one was fun.
I guess I have more personal questions. I don't know if I want to take up everyone's time, but I'm interested in sort of the workload of chemistry, considering I'd like to have a full debate schedule. So between that and working on education, that'd probably be too much, right?
It depends. I mean, when you think about, like we were talking about Matt Tovar, he was an EMT, he did research, he did biochemistry.
He was a scribe too.
Yeah, he scribed at the hospital. We've had several students who are athletes as well as chemistry majors, and they've been able to handle that. So we had John Lutkenhouse, he was one of our star point guards on the basketball team, I think. Bye, Caitlin. So you can handle both of those. We've had people do double majors between like art and chemistry, or historical preservation and chemistry. So being able to balance those things. And if you're interested particularly in education, we have had several do education. So yes, it is a high workload, but if you know that going in, then you're prepared for it. So
I mean,
probably some of those other classes that you would be taking are going to satisfy a lot of your general education requirements. So you won't have to also worry about, all right, well, I've got education, I've got chemistry, and I need to get my gen eds done. There's going to be a lot of overlap between those and gen ed. So you won't have to worry about that also.
And that's where your academic advisor can help you. We also have a program called the Peer Academic Consultants over in Academic Services. So one of the things they can help you do is sit down and run the numbers. And I do this exercise with a lot of my students. They're struggling. I go, okay, 24 hours in a day, 7 days a week. How many hours is that? All right, let's subtract out how many hours a week are you in class? Okay. Then there's a rule of thumb, a rule, that if it's a 3-credit class, you should be studying 6 to 9 hours a week for it. That's the workload it's going to take to be really productive, stay on top of everything, not be having to spend all-nighters when stuff's due, that kind of thing. And for the and they can help you work all that out. I mean, even your debate, the people on the debate team, they're in majors too. And maybe their majors, if they're doing philosophy pre-law or classics pre-law, they may be doing big Greek translations every night. I mean, in chem, it's not common to have to read 100 pages a night, but I know darn well it's common in poli-sci. So, and it's, again, that idea of, making choices. I mean, we have a major who owns her own business, and she goes part-time usually. That's the choice that she's made. It's how she's able to be successful and keep running her business. And she's been great. There is a lot of support if you come and ask for it. That's the biggest thing. If you seek it out, it's here, but nobody is going to go chase you down Campus Walk and say, hey, you know, well, even when I've done that to students that I've noticed were having trouble, hey, why don't you come see me? Hey, come see me. Hey, you know,
I was going to say, I actually have stopped a student on campus walk and been like, wait, you weren't in class today. So
Yeah. And your classmates will help you, or your people on the debate team. And that's one of the things the athletes learn very quickly. You know, I tell a lot of the athletes, if you, yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. You know, if you meet somebody on the debate team, you find the seniors and you ask them their GPA, and whichever ones have a GPA like what you want, ask them how they do it. Major in biochem and continue to grad school. No, it doesn't. Yeah, if you major in biochem, you can't major in chem. Yeah, you don't get to do too many twofers. You know, if there's only a few classes difference, you don't get to count two. And there's really no benefit to it. When you're talking about grad school, they're looking not only for the degree, but they're looking for the courses. So they're looking for you to have certain courses before you come in, and it doesn't matter what degree they're in. Life is more flexible than it was in high school. And again, you got 28 credits to figure that out. So we got lots of the biochem class, the bio classes that aren't already in the major wouldn't apply for biochem. But if you chose to take them because you were interested, great, take them, enjoy. You want to take ornithology with Dr. Dolby? I'd love to take it too. But you know, again, it's more driven by what you're interested in.
right. So I mean, the bio classes that are included in biochemistry are going to be the more molecular biology type of classes. The ones that are not included are going to be like anatomy, ornithology, ecology. Like I call them the tromping in the field classes. Okay, it's a different area of biology that if you're planning to go to grad school in biochemistry, it's not really what they're going to be looking for you to have taken as an undergrad. Now, I mean, if you wanted to get that bio minor also, you probably could if you take enough of those non-molecular biology type of classes. But there's no way you can get a chemistry minor with a biochemistry major. There's too much overlap between those two programs.
But you could put lots of things. I call them power pairs, the business and chem, business and biochem, pre-law, chem and biochem. Oh my heavens, the amount of attorneys that are going to be needed that understand science is going to be huge. You know, international relations, it's the need for science literacy has been brought home in the past year or so. And so people that are able to cross boundaries with their knowledge are going to be very valuable.
We have a lot of our students that graduated last year that are actually in Masters of Public Health programs now, because they have that science background and they want to apply it to help people without, you know, doing the traditional route of med school.
We've also got a handful of freshmen this year that are doing physics and digital communication, which is an interesting pair. But again, being able to accurately convey science visually, we need more people that can do that.
Thank you tons for all your help.
Yeah, no problem. And I'm going to put our contact information in the chat again, in case you didn't get a chance to copy that down.
And if you do sign on with UMW, one of the things that'll happen is you will get some advising in the summer before you start your first year seminar, before your advisor's been assigned. And those advisors are going to be assigned based on what you're interested in. So if you've put on your survey that you're interested in chemistry as your first or second choice, maybe even your third, you're likely going to be Zooming with me at some point during the summer. And we'll sit down and we'll go through, you know, if you transferred credits in, here's what you transferred in, here's the classes you need, and we talk through the whole thing. I sat down, I think I spent 30 minutes with, and some of them I had multiple meetings with over the summer. Or if during that orientation, you wind up meeting with somebody else, but you still have questions about chem, always feel free to email. One of the beautiful things about our school is because we're smaller and because the faculty all know each other. If I'm talking to a student that says, well, but I'm also interested in neuroscience, might want to double major in psych. I'm like, oh, well, let me email Dr. Stebbins and, get you two introduced. So if you speak up about chemistry and say, I have concerns about chemistry, somebody will say, let's get you talking to Dr. Asper, or reach back to Dr. Crowder. That's all going to be there this summer to make sure that you're not feeling lost and make sure that you have a schedule that you're comfortable with and that you're in love with when classes start.
I love that.
You
There are
can't tell I'm
mysterious-
smiling behind my mask, but I'm smiling. So.
That's okay. There's mysterious beeps coming from my basement. I'm not sure what my kids have found.
Well, we're so glad that all of you
We are.
come to our info session tonight. And really, I do encourage you, if you come up with any questions at any point, don't hesitate to reach out. All of our contact information is on our website. If you just do a search on the front page for chemistry, it will come up. So you can get in touch with any of us.
We can also do department tours. We can't do the big walking backward massive tours that were the college staple, but we can certainly, if you're interested, you and your family can make an appointment and we'd be happy to take you around, show you some of the things in the building, show off our pretty equipment because it's our favorite thing to do.
We can do that virtually too, which is a little different, but we can walk around with cameras if you need to and you can't get to campus.
Awesome. All right. Hey, Natalie, I think we're ready for you to take back control if people don't have any other questions.